What's really going on? Everyone? Back again with our first episode of 2026. Before we get into all of the craziness that has happened in the first 11 days of this year, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. That includes TikTok, X, and Instagram at wrgo pod. Be sure to like, listen, and subscribe wherever you listen or watch podcasts. That includes YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Amazon Music. Henry, I think that was the first time in maybe 3 years that I've ever fully gotten that intro right. Happy New Year, my friend. Without being like, wait, where do we follow it? Wait, hold on.
Oh, how are you, my friend? We're out there. We're on all the platforms, man. So make sure you follow us. I really think last year we did a great job at capturing just a new audience. So we really appreciate you all for tuning in, catching up to what's really going on in the politics and the culture. Just make sure you comment, please comment, subscribe, share, all of the things. We really, really, really appreciate it. We do not take it for granted.
No, that's for sure. And to Henry's point, we'll give you something to comment on. We had a lot of amazing guests, thanks in part to our special Booker in Chief, Henry Woods. But if there is a guest that you would actually like us to have, if there's someone's on your wish list, be sure to comment. Be sure to tap one of us, DM us on any of our accounts. Let us know who you would want, and I promise you we will try to make that work. So Henry, so like I said, it has been I think we all had like a relaxing holiday and it was pretty good. And we were like kind of slow walking, like, hey, when do we want to finally do this? And we had some ideas. And then the world kind of happened.
I think Trump happened, not the world. But yeah, it's always something going on. It's like how you said the holiday was relaxing and it was very calm, but it was almost too calm because it was like, wait,
and
something doesn't feel right here.
And then it turns out we only needed a couple days. So we'll start with the kind of just what happened most recently, and then we'll kind of just work our way back. So obviously, if you haven't been living under a rock, the thing that's kind of captured all of the attention, both on our social media feeds and just the national news, was the ICE shooting involving Renee Nicole Good. So if you are unfamiliar, Renee Nicole Good, she's a 37-year-old mother from Minneapolis. She was fatally shot and killed by Jonathan Ross, an immigration and customs enforcement officer, otherwise known as ICE. Around 2,000 ICE agents and officers have been in Minneapolis for over about a week. We put a video up on this on social media. I think it was on Thursday. There were 2,000 agents who went into Minneapolis, and their police force is only around 540 something officers. So basically quadruple the amount of people have now occupied this city. And it did end up with her getting shot and killed in what seems like she was a ICE observer, meaning she was trying to warn residents of her community. It is worth noting that Minneapolis has the largest Somali American community. Notice how we are going to say Somali Americans because they are all United States citizens. This kind of really then took off on the rails when the vice president, J.D. Vance, and Chrissy Noem, the person who was basically in charge of ICE, called Renee Nicole Good a domestic terrorist, which then had made this a totally different conversation. I'm both kind of surprised, but I'm also not shocked that this happened, and I'm also surprised that it took this kind of long. I think I'll be frank. The only big difference is that I think this happened to a white woman, so I think more people are nationally paying attention to this, but Henry, overall, what are your thoughts, or has this kind of penetrated your ecosystem? But overall, what are your thoughts on all of this craziness?
I think what you just said about it being a white woman is why it's capturing a lot of the attention. I do think more people are starting to kind of like get the notion of like Trump isn't good. When I say Trump isn't good, I mean like they see that ICE is attacking not just because why are you sending ICE agents in American cities in the first place? But they are attacking kind of anybody that's in their way. And that then becomes a problem because it's like, well, you're claiming we're getting the rapists and the criminals and all the terrorists and blah, blah, blah. But realistically, you're just terrorizing American people. And it's scary because as we get down the docket, we see that he's getting away. And I keep doing these air quotes if you're watching us visually. It's like he's getting away with all of this stuff and these things, and nobody's holding him accountable. And that's the more annoying part about everything that's going on. I do see that like Congress is trying to vote to stop him from making more action on the next topic on our docket. And then with the ICE stuff, there's no regulation there. They're just kind of doing whatever. But I do like that it was a city said that if they were to come, ICE was to come there and like maybe just do heinous crimes, they're going to prosecute them
It was
on the
Philadelphia.
state level.
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia. They're going to prosecute them on the state level, which I think is cool because then it couldn't get overturned or dealt with in a federal court. Which, if they're going to play like that, then we have to play like that. And that's the unfortunate part about this administration, because bipartisanship is what makes the American government kind of work, and they're not doing that in any regard.
Yeah, I like that you flagged the Philadelphia example because I think that's actually what I would wish. Now, granted, it's a little bit hard, but I do wish that at least in Minneapolis, I do wish that at least Tim Walz, the mayor, Jacob Fry of Minneapolis, the attorney general, who's a black man, I wish they're all like they are not going to get ahead of their investigation, but I think they need to say if our investigation finds wrongdoing, we are going to exhaust our resources to do that, to prosecute this person. And even if the federal government has to come in and step in and pull us out, we would rather that happen than for us to just do nothing. We're going to do, whether that's fully charging them, trying to pull them for it, like we're going to exhaust our resources, even if it fails, because this is a person who's a federal officer. But I think they just have to, sometimes you just have to die on the hill and just be like, I'm going to do everything in my possibility to make sure that this person is held to account. If the federal government is not going to hold them accountable, that doesn't stop me from at least trying.
I was gonna interject, and it was a joke, but you knew, like the mayor, yeah, he was like, "Why the fuck you here?" or whatever.
Well, Henry's not going to say it, but I will. He said, "Get the fuck out of our city." And
yeah,
I think,
get the.
but I think like I get it. I get it. I mean, I can't imagine.
So to your point of like him, holding them accountable to the fullest degree, how with that a statement like that, do you not think he's maybe gonna try to push back? Because we haven't we haven't seen what he's doing in the like internal realm.
I think he needs to. I think and this is what we always talk about. Your words are one thing, but like, what are you actually going to do? And I think I would rather, you can say all that you want, but like, I would rather you exhaust every resource, send people out there to try to talk to them, sue the administration, bring people in to testify to say, hey, okay, this is what we're supposed to do? Even if it just has to be a bunch of show, I would rather you go all out to try to do what you can. I think we need that. I think they need to know that, like, hey, even if you do this and we can't like prosecute you, we're going to make your life a living hell. We are going to penalize you, get in the way, muck stuff up for you as much as humanly possible. I don't know necessarily what that looks like. I even think.
Well, that was my next question, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm thinking out loud in real time. I mean, I even wonder because, for context, the woman Renee Good, the reason why she was involved, the reason why the interaction happened, the first point was that her and her partner were clearly trying to alert people in their community that ICE was there. That's happened in DC, that's happened in Chicago, LA, where people are clearly like, whether it's a bullhorn or a whistle or just yelling, hey, ICE is here, notifying people that, hey, these people are here right now. So just be careful. Legitimately or like logistically possible, but I don't know. Is there a way that like local law enforcement can follow them? I don't know. I think you have to start thinking about stuff like that. Or it's something I would even think about of like, hey, do we just need to have people follow these people around?
Well, then that becomes
People who are
one use of
law
the system.
enforcement officers locally.
Right, but like that, like, is that not
Perfect
counterintuitive?
idea. It might be, but I think to what your point, you said this so well, Henry, is that like it's very clear that they are just taking people, whether they are documented or not, and we have a lot of evidence that says that they are just snatching up anybody, and they're not getting criminals, they're not getting people who are doing wrong. It's like everyday people. But also for the administration to hit their goal of so-called a million, they're going to have to proactively just grab people. They can't do that passively. Border crossings are down.
Well, I think that
So
then goes. That's like the This eye light is getting on my nerves with these glasses. I tried to whatever. I think that then
lasted 10
becomes,
minutes.
like I'm still getting used to them. Like I said, I don't remember they were point. I think that then becomes the point. Not the point, but like his whole gimmick. Um, he's like how they created this hard on crime rhetoric in the 2000s, and he's mimicking that, but against he's putting it on in media. It's against a certain personnel or a certain persons, which it is, but inadvertently he's attacking other persons that fall into these subcategories that I don't think the masses have like fully grasped until recently. And that's why I think this shooting is such a like big deal. It makes you step back, and not you as in me and you and minorities or black people. It makes people who have maybe not heard our problems and issues with this country now say, wait, hold on. They're now looking at us as like a disregard, and they don't have to consider me as a person and so on and so forth. So I think now, especially with midterms being this year, and we see Democrats overwhelmingly winning, I would hope our leadership then there, how you said, let's say the mayor or the DA or the state attorney or whomever that has the rights to bring charges against this person or the man in ICE that like pulled the trigger. I hope they go to the furthest degree to hold this person accountable. That then like shifts what has been happening with the Trump administration, and that's where Democrats haven't been taking those risks to kind of push back on a full force. I do, and we didn't really put this on there, but let's say like the Affordable Care Act that kind of got passed and it extended. That's something that could be talked about. And then Republicans, even some Republicans, a small number of them, even voted for that. And we slowly see this shift in paradigm, but it's gonna take more pushback on all levels if we really want to like take our country back in a very sensible way.
So now one thing that we also wanted to talk about was the situation that's going on in Venezuela. It's been around 9 or so days. So what happened was on Saturday, so last Saturday on January 3rd, the news was announced that the president of Venezuela, Victor Maduro, that he was actually in United States custody. We flew around 150 planes over there, bombed some military targets in Venezuela, sent a team into the country. And the best way I could describe it is I think we actually kidnapped him legally. um, and now he is going to be charged in New York for a bunch of crimes, also including firearms, for trafficking narcotics. There's no proof that the administration has said that he, for some reason, is trafficking narcotics, which is a little funny considering that Trump just a couple months ago pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was actually a drug trafficker, who was bringing in tons of cocaine into this country. So that doesn't make any sense. What's since happened, and this is kind of the weird thing, is that there's been a bunch of other conversations about, hey, now we want to take Greenland, or now we want to, Cuba should watch out, or, all of these other things. And then that gets to the key thing. the oil. In his press conference, Trump had mentioned oil more than he had drugs, which is the stated reason why we did this. Um, Henry, where do you want to start? Because this is like a Pandora's box. It's endless. I think this is actually insane. And I still don't think it's
But I
actually
think it's
yeah.
not funny at all. But he said he was going to do this to some degree
He did. No,
when
he
he
did.
when he was first, positioning himself to run again. So that's why it's ironic. It's very not is it ironic? I don't know. It's just like
He did. It's like he's doing the stuff that he said he was going to do.
you know, like he really like not it's surprising because it's like dang okay, and I think that's where a lot of people, and I'll flip it back to the main conversation, but I think that's where a lot of people get butthurt, bittersweet in their feelings, whatever, about Democrats because Democrats aren't as aggressive about their tactics or their ideologies or policies or whatever. And to put it on Trump, we have seen this, like, I'm sure this man has come in day one, executive order after another, like doing things to where Venezuela, again, he acted without Congress. He did something he wanted to do because he felt like he
He
could
just
get
wanted to
money
do
out of
it.
this. Right. We clearly see that he's attempted to establish himself as a world great leader that's gonna be this historical figure in the United States history. Which, yeah, when he collapsed the country, sure. But besides that, you really not doing nothing besides put money in your own pocket, which that's the more frustrating thing is I think he went over there to because he know that Venezuela has all this oil, and if he gains the rain, he can finagle money into his own pockets. That's what I think the bigger play is, and that's the more like really upsetting thing about this man being in office is he's really stealing money from everybody left and right, and they continue to empower him, and that is what just makes me.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I even think like just the process of us even, I mean, once again, I think I've had to learn this of I think I've tried to stop um trying to put rational thought on what they're doing because there is no rational thought. We took a country's president.
Well, the rationale is how can I get rich while they
I would
not
agree.
holding me accountable?
And even then the way in which he's doing it still doesn't make any sense because it's like, okay, now we did it. And now guess what? It's not like they have the oil is in the ground. So guess what someone needs to do? Dig it up. It's really expensive. And the oil companies actually don't want to do it because you know why? They're going to say, why would I get into business and spend billions of dollars with this irrational person who just might change his whole mind on something if he doesn't feel like it's going fast enough? And who's going to be guarding the oil refineries? Who's going to be helping us get the oil? So are boots on the ground now? Like I don't, there's no rational thought to it. So I can say like, yeah, we want the oil, but like, are we actually thinking about how he's not thinking about how that actually is supposed to happen or like what the price tag is on that. It's kind of like you just buy, it's like, if you bought a 100-acre plot of land and then you're like, I want to build houses. And then you're like, oh, wait, I actually have to now build the houses. Uh-oh, I don't have the money for that. It's like he never
I
thinks
think
about
that
the
that
next
just
step.
speaks to Trump's bigger business acumen. If any American went and studied a lot of his developments, these people were egregiously either underpaid or
Yeah,
not paid.
not bad at all.
And then the business tended to go upside down.
Hmm.
So that lets you know he only looks at, oh, this could be a quick money grab. And he gets what he can out of it. And then once
Hmm.
that happens, he's like, deuces, I don't care about anything else. I don't care about the recourse of it. And that's then the problem because you're now in charge of a whole country. So, like, the recourse is going to be very severe.
So what you're saying is that it's different when it's just one building as opposed to like a country that's on another continent.
Very much so. What do you mean? Like a couple people not getting paid. I'm sorry to them people, not crazy, but like 100 million people not having health insurance. the CDC in this new flu going around, we don't really know the accuracy of it. It's just the way they cut just defense
Everything.
funding, NASA funding, help like everywhere, and funneled it back into their pockets because of these consultants said this was the right way to cut down the physical balance, which is that even a real thing?
I
Like,
think that can be probably the best ad of that. We don't have money to help you with your health care, but we got money to, you know, do some Venezuela
go
stuff.
didn't
We got money for
JD
that though.
Vance take like a vacation to Europe on a yacht? Not a yacht, I'm tripping, but a jet that was
Yeah.
like millions of dollars. Like,
We got that though. Yeah. So I think, and even then, I'll put the link to this in the episode and on YouTube. So if you're currently watching or listening us, I would encourage you to go to the show description. There's actually a Harvard professor who just listed out at least the times in which we have either, that the United States military has decided to take an offensive action either in Central America or in South America. And this person documented that since basically around 1900, there have been a total of around 41 interventions into foreign countries. And I think it was actually eye-opening to me because I think it just showcases what we don't learn in school. Like, even for
no, for
example,
sure.
like I didn't know that we actually invaded Panama in 1989. That's not that long ago. Like, I just did not know that. So I'll put this in the show notes. I would encourage you to Google a lot of stuff. It largely showcases how a lot of stuff that has happened in Central and South America that still happens is largely, we have a hand in a lot of that stuff, and countries that are still kind of trying to figure their way out even 40 years from some of that stuff, we still have our fingerprints on a lot of that stuff. So I'll put the link to that. But that is some stuff that is worth looking at. We're going to go on a little bit more, not on a super, super heavy note. But one thing that we did want to talk about is actually the state of the economy. Earlier this week, it was reported that that around 50,000 jobs were added to the economy. This is actually one of the lowest hiring years outside of COVID, and since the recession of 2008. It's basically since around 2003, the fewest jobs have been added to the economy. There's probably a lot of reasons for that, but one thing especially that continues to be concerning are that there are actually fewer entry level positions for recent college graduates. The unemployment rate currently is at around 4.4%. According to CNBC, the unemployment rate around those who have actually just graduated from college is double that and some. It's around 10.8. So there's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, it's AI, it's tariffs, but overall, Henry, what do you think about that? Because I think that has to go with, I think, what you have been hitting the drum on in terms of wages, how the economy is changing. So there are less people actually getting started in the workforce with college.
That's what none of them not accurate. Like nobody, like if you have a job, you better hold on to
Hold
that
on to
job
it.
with your
Yeah.
greatest strength. Because when you speak of AI, uh, it's in it's a small number of people, especially Black minority people, that go to college and get an education. So when they enter the workforce, it's typically through a retail warehouse, some type of space like that. I don't industrial, maybe
Mhm.
that's the correct classification space, which in case those jobs tremendously are being attacked by AI. So that then leaves a large pool of people to figure out how am I going to make ends meet, or how am I going to make a better means for myself and be sustainable, which then even people with bachelor's degrees or like Trump just unclassified nurses and so many other professions as not being professional. So it's just a lot of things happening to where you can say these jobs are open, but how many people are actually like solidifying these jobs and sustaining those jobs for maybe 6 months plus 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, and I think you hit it right on the head is that there's and this is where I think it's even, there needs to be, always bringing it back to politics. I think there needs to be just more of a focus on how companies are actually using AI. in terms of like obviously, hey, we were sold these tools as things to help us lighten our load, make us smarter, make us work more efficiently. But what happens when it's just literally just taking people literally? It's not actually help. It's just helping you reduce staff, not actually make your staff work better, work smarter.
I
And yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think you just hit it on the head for two reasons. How the I don't. I maybe seen a little bit of legislation. However, I need Congress to put ethics and rules behind this.
Yeah,
To your point of how businesses are using it, because it should not be used to replace a job. It should be used to enhance
yeah,
and make the job more efficient. And to the second point, if I'm a CEO, my main thing is ROI, return of investment. So if I can invest into this, I literally lost a contract to
yeah,
AI.
yeah.
So if I want to be transparent, if you've been watching the podcast, you know I do digital marketing, brand
Mhm.
strategy, dive into analytics, so on and so forth. A client presumed that AI would be more efficient than paying me, which no shade to that client when you listen to this, because I hope you are subscribed, but they're not. One, a lot of people are not really feeling. That's the best terminology I can come at.
Mhm.
User generated content has more engagement. It has higher conversion rates.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole fallacy of AI is that it's the difference of you can tell when something actually has a human fingerprint on it. It's a thing that you can't quantify or describe, but you know it when you see it. It can
Exactly.
read things that a language model cannot. It can pick up on feel.
Exactly.
And
And then
yeah,
AI is not always correct. And then I do
no.
like that. Like it was California, if I'm not mistaken,
Hmm.
California and New York.
Yeah, both, I think.
They put some type of
Guardrails.
around the use of AI and how it's propagated through work, especially let's say like when the writer strike happened.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think there needs to be regulation around AI. Very like it needs to. Like you
Yeah,
can't.
no, it
Yeah,
has to
'cause
be
a
because
lot of jobs encourage it. Also, the use of AI.
yeah, and I think that to me is like, and once again, even having that regulation, there is a fine line on that. But even then, it's like, are we then going to look back 10 years from now and say, actually, this thing that we thought was helping us actually just like screwed everything up? And I think we're increasingly just getting to that point to where I think more people are saying, I don't need to hire the people, I don't need to hire any entry level people today in 2026. But then guess what? When you want to hire mid-level people, you're going to realize I have no one at my company who I can hire because I don't have that many people here anymore. And then you're creating a problem that I think is going to increasingly span further up. So I think to your point, Henry, I think what we're going to see is that this is good now because it's largely for the people who are making money, the people who are middle career, not entry level. They're saying, well, this is only hurting those people at the bottom, as you said, Henry, those kind of those industrial jobs, those lower as they classify, quote unquote, in air quotes for people who are not watching us on YouTube. They're usually classified as lower skilled jobs. This is only impacting those folks today. But what happens when all of a sudden AI, more AI stuff gets figured out, and it all of a sudden impacts that middle
I'm a
management?
mid-level professional, and I just told you how
Yeah.
it's affecting
Right.
me.
And I think to your point, it's going to keep creeping up and up to where the question is then going to be, yeah, we don't need these five entry level people. Actually, we can cut the people who are managing it, who are managing those people by half now. And it's going
You
to
don't
keep
think that's
creeping
happening
up and
already?
up until I think we realize like actually this is not, and to your point, I think this is actually why we need to focus on the businesses. The businesses are doing this because it is just going to make them more profit. And it needs to be asked.
You
Go ahead.
you don't think companies are already cutting positions like mid-level positions out?
I think so.
Uh,
I think
okay,
so, but they're not going to be honest about it. You would
okay.
you would never
That's why
say,
I
"Hey,
said
we're
these
cutting a
numbers are
thousand."
fallacy. That's why I said these numbers are fallacy.
Yeah,
These numbers are not real.
and I think this is like we should probably actually have like and we need to figure out like an AI person that we can actually like talk to because this is like a whole rabbit hole. But I even think like if you follow it a little bit, there's so much money being invested in these AI companies like Microsoft, Nvidia with the chips, OpenAI. companies are investing like billions upon billions upon billions of dollars in them. And these companies who are investing in it are expecting a return somewhere. And to your point, Henry, where is that return going to come from outside of just, in large part, reducing staff? I don't know how you're getting to certain places and saying we as a company are going to invest 10 $50 million into, artificial intelligence, and that will come at both, allowing us to have insights that humans cannot provide, but also we don't need as many people doing this because we have this thing that we just invested all this money in. So we're going to put more stock into this as opposed to the 50 people who are doing this job. And to your point, I don't know how Congress can force companies to say exactly like, hey, what are you actually doing with this?
Well,
Um,
why don't you think Congress can force them to do that? Because we
I think they can
have,
bring them to testify. I don't think I mean, anybody can figure out an answer without actually providing an answer. I think you can make people look bad, which I think people need to be embarrassed.
well, I guess I was more so going down the route of like, excuse me, Congress can push out legislation to protect like privacy rights, data
Yes,
rights,
they
so
can.
on and so forth. And then they can also push out legislation that controls how and the practice of it.
Hmm.
That's then when you have lawsuits and a legislative system that will be in place that will hold these companies accountable. That's where I I get. I've seen something where it was like, like anybody in Congress should not have stock.
I agree.
I agree because if you're making policies on companies that you're in bed with, then it's not going to protect
Yeah.
anybody interest that you're on. So
Or just
like
you have more info, you have just more access to information just by the proxy of your job.
that. So with that being the case, I don't see any major legislation being pushed against AI,
Mhm.
which to your point, a lot of companies are getting in bed with AI, which a lot of these congressional people own stock in these companies that are getting in bed with AI. So they're not pushing back because they know they're going to get a return,
Yeah.
which that's then the problem because if you're there representing the American people and for what's better, like these data centers, why aren't we pushing legislation to limit or even stop them from being built within so many miles of an actual population of people? Because the toxins and what it produces into the air, so on and so forth. So it's just it's annoying to see how effed up the system is, especially when they try to inflate these numbers to make it seem like the economy is doing this good or
Mhm.
that well or whatever. When in real time we know that people are not hiring and
Stuff
AI
is
is
getting
taking.
more expensive because of, this gets to the next topic, tariffs. Like,
Yeah,
so that gets us to,
that's the messed up thing about these companies. They want to protect themselves, increase prices, expect us to pay for it, and not help us out by giving us a better living wage. Like what the is this game we're playing?
it's the good old American way, as some would say. And speaking of the American way, one thing, now we're kind of getting into the heads up portion of this, but one thing that we did want to shout out and flag is that the Supreme Court is currently in their kind of in their interim right now, which means that they will be making decisions. A couple of things that we wanted to point you all out is that they will be making a decision on Trump's tariffs. Um, by the Constitution, which I think Henry we've thrown away a long time ago, but the
They
power
really
to do tariffs is actually decided by Congress. Trump cannot just decide to tariff another country without Congress. But given that it seems like we just took a military action in another country without Congress, yeah, and it's like shocking, shocking.
mouth drops. Because who knew? Who
Who
knew?
knew? Who knew that we had a document that outlined how this thing was supposed to work? So that's one thing to be very much so aware of. But the more important thing, at least for the context of the folks who listen to this podcast on the regular, um, the Supreme Court is also supposed to vote on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act over time, since its passing in the 60s, the Voting Rights Act has actually gotten a lot weaker, in part because of the Supreme Court. So in 2013, there was a ruling that kind of said Southern states had to get all of their stuff approved by the court. So, for instance, Alabama could not change their voting rights laws without consulting and getting direct approval from the Supreme Court because they had a long history of disenfranchising black voters. The Supreme Court stripped that away in 2013, which basically now said that states that had a history of discrimination against black voters can now just do whatever they want with no check. So there's a part of the Voting Rights Act called Section 2 that would essentially guarantees majority minority districts. So across the South, particularly in Mississippi, Alabama specifically, and Louisiana, not so much in Georgia, just because Georgia is a little bit different demographically, but mainly in those kind of super southern states.
Whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo. In those southern states, a lot of them will have one Democrat that is often a black member of Congress because by the Supreme Court law, they had to basically give the black voting population in those states representation because they said you all actually have a good amount of people in the state, but you have no power because the state is designing gerrymandering, what we always talk about. So essentially, voters in these states have a black member of Congress, many of them, because of the Supreme Court. So essentially, what the Supreme Court is now taking the case on is whether that is actually not constitutional. I fear for what that outcome would be, and basically that if they're not saying that, hey, these populations need to have some type of representation, essentially all of these lines will be redrawn, similar to what we talked about. And this is, kind of an offshoot of what Texas was doing. So that's something to be mindful of,
Talking
I'm
about
sure.
offshoot, this is exactly what Texas is doing, my boy. What are you talking about? They take this away. You might as well
No, it's
cancel
ball game.
political
Yeah, it's ball game.
power from the South at large.
Yeah,
The only place that might got a chance is
it's
Georgia.
Georgia. No, I think that's it. I think that's really it. Which is,
Anywhere else, I'm sorry for you, my boy, because they about to take you through there, take you through there. Like they're gonna like, bruh. And the thing is, that what's really like irritating about this. If they vote in favor of like, it not mattering, it would take almost decades.
no, generations.
To even gain that power back.
If it even
So
can at all.
imagine bruh.
No, I mean, to your point, you would
They're
basically,
trying to do this before 2026 because they already, I seen where the United States Postal Service changed where they post date.
Yeah, yeah.
Vote when you send in your
They're
mail-in
changing that. Yeah.
ballot, they will count from the day they post dated. So they changed it to the time it reaches a center instead of the time it is actually
handed in.
Yeah.
Which, to
So
your point, is like a little thing, but actually a huge.
because you know how long it take your ballot to actually reach a mail.
You know how long the mail takes?
Period. So
that's a huge thing, and I think, especially for you, you've always been talking about the South and politics, and just to your point, that's like.
Well, I'll come back to the Northeast sooner or later. Actually, I'm about to go to make sure y'all passport's active. That's it. That's all.
And then the last thing that we wanted to talk about is the new Mamdani administration in New York City. So with it, he was sworn in on December 31st. And since then, he has actually, as Henry and I talk about, he has been putting belt to you know what. Just within the 11 days, he's done a lot of really good orders. So far, he's actually begun cracking down on landlords that are violating their tenants. He's actually gone to specific housing developments that have been underserved, literally saying, hey, these are the type of things that my administration will be looking for to hold landlords accountable who are not fixing their property, who are not providing basic services to their tenants. Another thing is that he basically said that all homeless shelters within the city need to be up to city code within 45 days, and he's putting the funding behind that to do so. And he cited that obviously if landlords are able to do whatever they want and the city's rising costs are up, we need to be putting more money into places where people can go to make sure that they have, especially in the cold, make sure that they have a hot place to lay their head down at night, especially for children. He introduced a child care plan with the governor. Um, that would essentially help out and extend child care services for folks within the city. Um, I'll let you kind of say your piece, Henry, but I think it's been actually very impressive too. I think so far, and we'll see like what specifics happen later, but I think he's provided, I think, a very good example of like how
Don't just talk
I'm
that
taking the
talk.
energy. Yeah.
Don't just talk that talk. I want to move to New York anyway. He's making it more feasible, obviously. So keep on going, Mamdani. But for real, I really commend the efforts because I really hope and pray when we continue to see this Democratic overturn in 2026, they take aggressive action like this in a progressive manner, not in those political respectability politic manner. I really like that he for the people. Like he really just doing what he said he was gonna do. He said, "I'm gonna tackle landlords and rent prices and child care and MTA." Because I seen like MTA prices had increased and like everybody
Mhm.
was trying to like target him and like these fake influencers were like trolling him,
Yeah,
trying
I
to
saw
say
that.
like, "See, Mamdani is just all talk, blah blah blah." But like that contract was already in
That
writing,
agreement was signed over the summer.
you know.
Yeah.
So I do think my boy gonna keep pulling through with
Mhm.
everything he can. I am. I guess I'm a cynical person at times, so I'm like them business people, them finance people in New York. They plot.
They're not gonna like this. Yeah. No, I mean, but I think that's, I think to your point, Henry, that's the refreshing thing. I think he's just not waiting. He's saying, if I have something that I want to do, and if I built this campaign off of doing those things, why would I stop? And I think to your point, it's like he clearly just actually wants to do this stuff. It's not just like I said this to just get up in here. It's like, no, I actually believe in what I talked about. And to your point, Henry, I think a lot of more people need to, I think, honestly use his communication style and just like to your point, Henry, like, well, just go, just do it, try stuff. And if you want to do something like, give free childcare for people who are two, like, figure it out. How
Wait,
can you
that
get to
stuff helps
yes?
the economy if they didn't know that. More people have more money to spend on your stupid businesses.
We-
Like, come on, man.
Who would have thought that was a crazy concept? When everyday people have money to spend, they're actually putting that back into the economy.
I don't know. They'd rather just make it harder for folks.
Yeah, so I think so, and I think yeah, that'll be something worth watching for, and we'll be watching that throughout the year. But this has been our first run in 2026. Like Henry said, we hope that you continue to rock with us throughout this year and years to come. Once again, be sure to like, listen, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. That includes YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, all of that jazz. I'm messing this up, and Henry's now laughing at me. So you know where to go. Linktree, WRGO. But like Henry said, be sure to drop us a like, drop us a comment why you like the episode. We are trying to, one thing that we are purposely trying to do this year is trying to expand our audience. And one way that we can do that is through you just even dropping a like, dropping a comment about something that you heard. And more specifically, this is going to be a test. Please comment who you would like us to try to get on the show this year, and we will try to make that work. Henry, as always. Oh, and one thing worth flagging for the people who might not know this, who might be new listeners. Um, I think as of September of this year, technically speaking, this will be almost 10 years of us doing this.
Crazy, because I was going to say that after we stopped recording. I was going to say that. And to be honest, it would probably be this month because we recorded the first month Trump got elected.
No, that would be next year. No, but
No.
remember, so when we're about to stop, because people
Yeah,
are probably like,
just
what the hell are you
just
all talking about? The first episode that Henry and I ever recorded was at Howard University our senior year, right after Trump got elected in a building known as Douglas Hall. And that episode has since been deleted because I think we were just crashing out for maybe 15 minutes. But the podcast at some point this year will officially turn 10. So thank you for everyone who has stuck
keep
with
y'all
us.
rocking. a hundred
And
thousand plus, my boy.
So be sure to like, listen, and subscribe and comment. Thank you.